So there's been the chatter the last few days about Stefon Diggs potentially being cut by the Patriots following the boat video he had earlier this week with the unknown pink substance that he was giving out on the boat. And it is certainly a interesting discussion of what Mike Vrabel and the team is going to do, because not that long ago they gave him a 3-year, $63.5 million deal, which you look at for the release, if they want to do it, it's going to be June 1st. I don't think anything's going to happen today. So when we look at post June 1st, for a release, they will save $100,000. For a trade, it'd be $4.7 million. Though I think it's unlikely a team would trade for Stefon Diggs at this point, given, of course, the age, injury, and also on top of the off the field issues. So Stefon Diggs, on top of that, has also missed OTAs because of that. Again, following the boat incident, which was one of those days. Vrabel did not go in too much detail of it when it was brought to him. The only thing he said, quote, "We want to make great decisions on and off the field," but visually he was upset with that, which he should be, because this is certainly a bad look for the organization from just like from the beginning, from the signing standpoint, which it was probably a massive overpay for Stefon Diggs, given the age and coming off the ACL. But I had no issue with that, seeing that there was a different philosophy of what the Patriots have been known for in years past, where if Belichick was still on the team, there's no way Stefon Diggs would be on the roster, at the very least, given this contract. So I like that they've gone out and tried to change the mindset and what they've done in years past. And no doubt Stefon Diggs is the wide receiver 1 on this roster. Given, again, if you are concerned of him at this point of his career, he's still number 1, which is more of a detriment to the Patriots of their lack of wide receiver talent they've had behind them. But still, it is a horrible look from the start. And on top of, again, you look at the off-field incidences, which insider Scott Zolak elaborated even further when I was reading his discussion, or what he said was, this is not the boat incident isn't just the only issue here. There's other incidences behind scenes. There's other instances along with the boat incident that haven't been brought to yet, at least why I haven't seen any detail of them. The only thing we know is, of course, what we talked about in the video, but there are other underlying things on top of that as well that could lead to the cut, and they said certainly that is on the table for a option for the Patriots. So you look at, again, from the Patriots standpoint, it's a horrible look from the start, from massively overpaying an Asian wide receiver coming off a major injury to seeing what he's doing off the field, not being at OTAs, trying to get rapport with Drake May, and the part of, is there a chance if it doesn't get to the preseason at least, or training camp, and he's gone, it's just an absolute fumble for this team, and it definitely makes them look like a joke, which, again, I have no issue with them taking the swing at Stefon Diggs, but certainly it is a bad look for the organization from that standpoint, and for Stefon Diggs as well. I mean, I did not think he was going to get this set of money at all, so he should be very thankful that he got this contract, this deal, and no doubt if he gets cut, there is no team that's going to give him this money ever again. That this will be the last time he'll ever see that with a team for the remainder of his career. If he even, I don't know how much he even get, if he did sign with someone else, it'd probably be not even half of this deal. It'd probably be less than that at this point. So you look at the cap breakdown. If there was a trade, supposedly, if this did go through, his cap has $8.7 million this year, and then it jumps to $26.5 million in 26 and 27. But they do have a potential out in 2026, which seems likely. If he sticks with the Patriots, that I will not be surprised if this just turns into a 1-year deal, depending on how things go with the regular season. On top of course, the issues as well, that they just keep him for the $8.7 million this year, and then let him go the year after and figure out another veteran wide receiver, or at that point, hopefully have a better picture of what they want to do with the wide receiving group moving forward with it. But again, it's a bad look. It's unfortunate. It's a negative spotlight for a team that is still trying to rebuild post Brady era and Belichick era, per se, with that. It's I like the pieces I have there. I like the Mike Vrabel hiring as a head coach. I think he did a great job with Tennessee, given the players he had, especially the quarterback position. We look at conference championship, having the number 1 seed the year after, or 2 years after, I should say. And I think, again, I think he did a great job for limited talent he had there, especially offensively. And of course, his GM not making the best decisions with the AJ Brown trade, which that has been a horrible situation with that with Treylon Burks. So you really see how that's panning out, given them picking first overall this past year. So again, I like this. I like the Mike Vrabel hiring. I like Drake May as a quarterback. I like the pieces they have there. They still have a good defense. I think they could be potentially a dark horse team to make the playoffs. Again, it might be crazy to say. I might be a little higher than some others on them this upcoming year, but I do put a lot of stock in them and be competitive in the AFC East with the Bills and whoever team you want to say, Miami at that point, the Jets. So I do think there's got a lot of potential for them. Not saying they're going to make a run if they make the playoffs, but I think at least getting close to a playoff berth or making at least the wild card round is a huge step forward for the second year for Drake May and first year for Mike Vrabel. But again, given that it's just unnecessary spotlight that they have to deal with for Vrabel, constantly, answering questions about Stefon Diggs and the incident, and of course, people wondering what's going to happen with Diggs at this point. I don't know what the thought is for fans from Patriots. If the majority of them want him gone or they want him to stay still, I feel like I would no doubt assume that a lot of them or all of them are disappointed, upset, frustrated with hearing this story of Stefon Diggs coming out there, as they should be. And again, it's unfortunate because you look at Stefon Diggs last year before he got hurt. I think he was productive with the Texans. Or if you want to view him as the wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 at that point, but in 8 games, he had 47 receptions for 496 yards, 3 touchdowns, 10.6 yards per reception. Again, I think he was productive in what they had there. Unfortunately, just injuries kind of really riddled that season for him, and not just for him, for everyone else on that roster. Nico Collins was on IR at some point. I think it was after the Bills game, or the game after, earlier in the year. You had Stefon Diggs, of course, after 8 or 9 weeks, and you had Tank Dell, who had the gruesome season-ending injury, who's not only going to miss, who missed a decent amount last year, but also, or I think a small portion last year, but also will miss the entire 2025 season. But so again, I think Stefon Diggs was productive in what he was asked to do there. It is unfortunate the ACL injury, and now throwing all this on top of all that with the video. And again, the big worry is what's that substance is. As right now, there is no discussion of that. There's no confirmation of what is exactly. So all of us are kind of presuming it is a illegal substance, which could add even more things on top of that. Also, too, about suspension wise, is there potentially something that might happen this year or next year if he's on the roster? So there's a lot of moving parts with that, and I get the frustration for Mike Vrabel and the decision if they decide to move off of him because of just trying to set the tone, the president of what the culture they want there to try and continue off of, in a way, the Belichick type of way. Small tweaks here and there. Like I said, the Stefon Diggs was a huge change to what Bill Belichick would have never done in that area. So again, I'm trying to keep the culture and try and keep the tone of what Mike Vrabel has done when he was at Tennessee and what he's trying to do now. I understand if he wants to make an example of Stefon Diggs and move off of him, but again, it would just be a bad look for the Patriots on a huge swing and a miss of him not even getting to, if it's another week or two down the line, not just getting to training camp or preseason and kind of just being the joke of that, it's unfortunate, but I trust Mike Vrabel, and surely I would not hold it against him if he decided to move off Stefon Diggs because of just the antics, not trying to want to deal with the distractions and the noise. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks or a month or two. If Stefon Diggs still sticks around, again, they save a little bit of money going back to it. Again, $100,000. If it's a release, $4.7 million for a trade. Though, if a trade does happen, they are going to get probably very little value in return if it does happen. So we'll see what happens to Stefon Diggs at this point and what they decide to go moving forward with him.